Welcome to Ask Me How I Know. I'm so grateful you are here with me today. This week, we are going to be talking about post pandemic networking because live networking is coming back and we're able to see each other, and it's so exciting. But we haven't done this in really a year and a half for most of us. And so this is going to take a little bit of adjustments, and I really want us to go into this networking season and reopening with a very intentional mindset. As we go through this mindset session, we're going to be talking about the power of authenticity, humility, and acceptance as we are doing this in-person live networking. When you haven't seen a friend for a long while, sometimes there are these little butterflies that flutter up inside of us because oh, are they going to remember us the same? Are we going to remember them the same? And will they still like me? Will I still like them? How have we changed? Are we even going to have the same chemistry that we had before? All of these feelings are very natural feelings. I know that I had them as a child, even when I was going to visit family that I hadn't seen for maybe 6 months or something, right? My grandparents lived in a different community, and we'd go and visit them, and I'd have these little fluttery feelings about grandparents and cousins and aunts and uncles. And then I also had that feeling when I was in early adulthood, and I would drive. A friend moved away, and I had to drive 8 hours to go hang out with her for a weekend or something. And I'd have that same feeling like, oh, is she still going to like me? How's this going to go down? And I know that this transcends all of time because even my daughter recently mentioned this to me. She hadn't seen a friend for a while, same situation, and she expressed some relative nerves about the situation, and we talked our way through that. So I want you to think for a moment. Have you ever had that experience where you already like somebody, you've connected, you've met, maybe you've been longtime friends, but you've moved and now you're going to see each other again? I want you to embrace those feelings just for this moment, and I want you to dive deep into them. Well, as we are getting ready to do this in person networking, in person seminars, and events of all kinds, which is so exciting for me, at least on so many levels. I love seeing people in person. But think, we have made a ton of connections virtually. All of these connections that we've made through different networking sessions and meetups and Zoom calls and whatever social media platform it is, we have this sense of connection to people that we've never met in person. Maybe you're feeling some of those nerves. I'm getting ready this week. I leave tomorrow to start a trip because traveling kind of is a little complicated with what we have going on. And so tomorrow I leave and I'm going to be venturing out, going to my very first live in person event. And I'm super excited. But a lot of the people that I am going to meet and connect up with, they're people I've never actually met face to face in person in the flesh and blood, right? IRL in real life. There are some things that I've been processing mentally, emotionally, in every capacity, kind of in preparation. And I thought, I'm not the only one going through this experience. And this would probably be helpful for other people to put just at the front of mind as we are going into this new season. I know this week there are going to be two major events taking place down in Dallas, Texas. I know of a really great event taking place in October in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. I know of other events in Orlando taking place in October. So we know like it's all starting to catch fire. So if you're not in this situation at this immediate moment, more than likely you're going to find yourself in a position where you're going to be doing live in person events together. And hopefully those meetups in your communities are starting to open up and people are starting to be able to mix and mingle. So as we are going into this, there are three areas that are going to be really important for you to focus on so that you can have a really meaningful connection that can grow. So it can lay, you already have a foundation laid, you already have a friendship or a really strong connection made, and now you want to allow that to grow and flourish. And in order to do that, these three things must be present. The first is acceptance. Yes, acceptance is definitely my personal thing for the entire year. So I am totally starting off with acceptance. And here's why: acceptance is going to lay the foundation. Let me ask you this: you've seen me on screen, but have you seen me in real life? I mean, what's going to happen when we meet in real life? And I venture to say that most people have some level of apprehension about this. Let's just talk right now about the physical part of acceptance. We've been on screens and screens. Did you know that over on Zoom, you can add all sorts of filters? If you haven't figured it out, I played with it one day and it was absolutely terrifying. I mean, if I wanted to show up without any makeup on or hair done or what, don't think hair, but like it can put eyeliner on you and eyebrows on you and lipstick on you. It can do all sorts of things. Okay. And then there are all the other filters, and you can change how much it's filtered and blurred and how not it is. And so, by the way, I don't use any of that. I'm like, if we can't do this, this real thing with how I look, then without filters, it's just not going to work. So, all that to say, the filters that we can put on a lens and in the videos, they are all obliterated the moment we meet face to face in real life. So, as you're meeting people face to face in real life, wow, is there going to be judgment and criticism? Maybe they were using a filter. Maybe they look like, or maybe on the other hand, maybe they look like 20 years younger in real life than they did on the screen. You never know how it's going to go when you meet someone physically. I'll admit that there have been times where I've met people physically and, like in person, and they've been way taller or way shorter than I estimated they would be. Do any of these things matter at all? Do physical appearances matter at all? They do not matter at all. However, we are humans and we look at physical appearances. It's just part of like, boom, it's right there. It's one of the first things. And that's why I am addressing this first. So, first point of acceptance is physical acceptance. Accept yourself how you are. You are beautiful. You are handsome. You are just as you should be. Because guess what? No matter what you look like on the outside, whatever is on the inside, that is what's going to pour out of you. And so if if you're a wonderful person who has like amazing intentions for others and you genuinely care for others, that is what's going to pour out of you. That is what's going to make you glow and shine and radiate and attract people to you. I don't know if you've ever met someone and you see them and they're just absolutely, in your estimation, because beauty's in the eye of the beholder. In your estimation, they're the most beautiful or handsome, attractive person that you've ever seen. And you start to go down a conversation hole with them and you realize, like, oh, I just want to walk away. Okay. So, no matter what happens with this whole exterior first facade, accept how you are physically, accept how others are physically, and really focus in on what is going on internally, what is pouring out of me from my insides, and what is pouring out of that person from their insides to the world. The next point of acceptance is journey. Here's the deal: everybody in this world, in this lifetime, is on a journey. There are some people in their early 20s and they had access to information that I didn't have access to. And they are light years ahead of where I am on my journey. Do I need to judge and compare myself to those people? Do I need to judge and compare myself to the journey of somebody who's been diligent and disciplined in their investment practices over, or whatever it is, over the last 20 plus years? Can I compare myself to them? And should I? So I want you to stop right now and I want you to really embrace where you are on your journey. This morning, I was finishing listening to Brain Dump, one of my favorite podcasts to listen to. I wish they had more episodes, but they only come out with one a week. I highly recommend this episode, especially as you were preparing going into in person events. And this is why they really talk about success and defining success for yourself. We're going to get into that in just a moment, maybe even on some future episodes. But for the purpose right now, what that episode made me think of was actually physically laying a path. I literally thought of Wizard of Oz and Dorothy on the yellow brick road. And I don't know if you have ever looked at an actual brick or cobblestone road, but imagine every single one of those is laid piece by piece, piece by piece. And as in my mind, I was like visualizing Dorothy, in the scenes on the yellow brick road. And I was thinking every one of those bricks was being laid, not literally in the movie. It wasn't, you could see the path forever, but I was just visualizing like how that path would unfold. And in our journey, every brick is being laid every single day of our life. We can't really compare, and we really shouldn't, the bricks that we have laid to somebody else. Someone else might have a really short, maybe they have a short road, but that road has all sorts of side paths on it of different kinds, for better or for worse. Maybe somebody has one really ginormously long road, the longest road. If you play Settlers of Catan, maybe they have the longest road ever, and it has no paths and no deviations off the sides of it, for better or for worse. You see, every journey is different and unique. And so the bricks that you are laying in your life are what are building your life and your path. This process of paving your path, it is an incremental process. It is piece by piece, piece by piece. So don't compare yourself. This isn't a better, worse, or anything like that. So really keep that anchored in your mind. Acceptance of your path, acceptance of others' paths. It's not a comparison game. You don't have to show up and feel intimidated because your path is yours. And that is powerfully important in your life. And it will have a ripple effect that will change the lives of others. The third important point of acceptance is understanding that your ideas and ideals are not necessarily shared by every single other person on the planet. I know that's a newsflash and maybe a spoiler for a lot of you, but it's also a good reminder and reality check. As you're engaging in conversations, it's really important to keep context as a cornerstone of the conversation. And this doesn't mean you have to bring it up and like create any waypoints in your conversation. It's simply a matter for you to internally keep in mind and keep anchored to understand my goals. My goal is, and understand what your goals are, and then remind yourself maybe that's not their goal. Okay, so for example, maybe your goal is to have 100,000 in passive income a month, and someone else's goal is only to have 10,000 in passive income a month. How they talk, how they communicate, or their idea of what a lot is or success is going to be determined by the context of what they believe success to be. And I literally just put like a monetary thing as a anchor to this conversation, but you really need to anchor yourself down before you are going into these in-person situations. And I say in person because there is an energy exchange that takes place that's very powerful. And so it might be more powerful than the virtual connections that you have. And that's a whole different element that's coming into play that can really knock you off kilter. So being sure that you understand what is driving you and what success means to you, really having that front of mind clarity for you is going to give you a calmness and a calm presence as you're engaging in other people. Accept that your idea of anything is not necessarily the same idea as someone else. That does not make them better or worse, or you better or worse, but it allows you to come in a position of receiving what they have to offer and having a really healthy exchange. So, the three areas for acceptance that you want to focus on as we're getting into these in person gatherings and meetups is that you want to ensure that you are accepting yourself and others physically, that you are accepting yourself and others on their journey where it is and honoring that, and that you are accepting that ideas vary from person to person, and that's okay. It's not a reflection that somebody's better or worse. It's not a competition. This next area that we're going to talk about really comes straight from that point. You accept, and now you are empowered to be authentic. Authenticity is going to come in a much more natural way when you are clear about who you are and what you expect from life, what drives you and what you are aiming to achieve in life. When you have those tenets of acceptance in place, it's way easier for authenticity to flourish and pour out. Now, have you ever met a person that you instantly could tell and they were just like trying to pump themselves up to make themselves look really great, and they were really trying to prove something? You got to ask yourself, who are they trying to prove that to? Really, they're not trying to prove it to you. They're acting in that way because they're trying to remind themselves of who they are. They haven't landed and anchored themselves deep into that point of acceptance. And so it comes out in how they are engaging other people. When it comes to authenticity, if you've worked through those points of acceptance, then you can be you. You're not, as my friend Shelmy Ray says, you're not the flavor everyone can savor. So you don't need to worry about being buddy buds with every single person that you meet. Always be polite and courteous and respectful and accepting of others. However, it's really important to understand that you're going to connect more or less with other people. And when you want to find the people like your tribe type thing, when you want that in your life, that's going to be you showing up as authentic you. If you're showing up as somebody else, you actually might connect with some people, but in time, it's going to erode and it's not going to actually be anything lasting or meaningful. So make sure that you are showing up as your authentic self so that you are connecting with people that you can establish and build deep, meaningful relationships with over time. The final point, and these really build on each other: acceptance, authenticity, and then the final point, humility. Now, I know some of you would say, hey, Julie, humility should have been the very first one. And I could argue that humility could be first, or acceptance could be first, or authenticity could be first, because these are all so deeply intertwined. It takes humility to accept yourself. It takes humility to accept others. It takes humility to accept that ideas are different. And you know what? It takes humility to say, wow, they've really accomplished something that I want to accomplish. I want to be like that. As you are going to these events and you are getting to know people in person, approach people with a heart of humility. You don't need to lead with your ego. Now, ego is not a bad thing, and it's really gotten a bad rap. And so I don't want to pounce on ego. But if you're using your ego to try to prove something, to try to be someone that you are not, then you're going to fall flat and you're going to really repel a lot of people from your life. Regardless of how much success you've had or the successes that you're looking to achieve, those successes aren't going to come when you're just living the world trying to prove something. You don't need to prove anything. You simply need to live at what I like to call an inside out life. Just like live with your heart, with your insides, with your purpose, with your vision. Read Live with that pouring out of you. It'll attract everybody to you. If you are coming up to a group of people and you are trying to show everybody up and you're trying to be the poster child of that group, you're probably going to repel people. Okay, so don't be that person. That's the part of ego that most people, when they hear ego, they think, oh, that's ego, don't be like that, be humble. But humility also takes a lot of different forms, just as ego does. And so as you're being humble, also don't berate yourself, don't make yourself less than you are. Humility is really truly accepting where you are. So let's just say that you are wildly and abundantly successful in all the things that matter to you. Then you are going to talk and come from a position. And it's not a position of, I'm better than you and I've accomplished this and I did this and da, da, da. It's not from that position. Okay. It's simply accepting with humility that you've been blessed, that your hard work has been blessed, that you've laid those bricks by bricks through daily disciplines, and you're reaping the rewards of that. You don't need to cover that up and bury it and try to minimize it because you want to because you believe in some capacity that you're protecting the people around you. Humility is acceptance, right? So there we go back. They go hand in hand. Humility is acceptance. I've accomplished and achieved this, and I've received it, and this is wonderful. And how somebody hears that and what they do with that information is completely their responsibility, provided you're coming from a position of inside out authenticity, then you're doing your part as a communicator and as a human being. You have nothing to prove to anyone else. It's your life. You're the one who has to live it day in and day out. You're the one that gets the benefits or the detriments of the choices that you make, of the bricks that you lay on your path. So live in that acceptance, live in authenticity, live in humility. And as you are going to all of these events over I just hope over all the coming years, as you're going to these events, approach the situations just like that. This week, I am headed to Dallas to Dealmaker Live. So if you are there at Dealmaker Live, you will see me around. Don't hesitate to come out to me. Don't hesitate to say, hey, Julie, how are you doing? And you know what? I might not know who you are. I might not know your name, but I love meeting new people. And I especially love meeting my listeners. Before we leave, I want to give you a little bit of homework. Even if you don't have an event scheduled and planned and booked and all of that, take a moment and visualize yourself meeting people that you've met virtually. Imagine yourself meeting them in person. Imagine yourself approaching them from a position of acceptance. Oh, I accept you physically. I accept your accomplishments. I accept your ideas. Okay. I want you to visualize yourself approaching them with humility and visualize yourself approaching and engaging people with authenticity. Visualize yourself walking around a room, speaking with other people and engaging them in meaningful ways. Just taking that moment to visualize this is going to make the next event that you are able to attend, very powerful. If this episode served you well, please let me know. Rate it 5 stars, drop a review, and please share this. That's the most important thing. If you please share this with people so that they can also be encouraged to live the life of their dreams. Until next time, go live the life unfolding before you.